The New York City Football Club preparing for their first preseason scrimmage tomorrow against Real Salt Lake. A Real Salt Lake midfielder, Diego Luna. We're going to talk about him and the rest of the U.S. men's national team off their two recent friendlies on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hey, everybody. I'm Glenn Crooks in Chile, New Jersey, and Roberto Abramowitz. It looks like he's on a yacht, but I guess it is overlooking a beautiful bay in Acapulco. So welcome, Roberto. I'm glad you're getting a chance to rest and relax before the big season. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. I think that when we talk about the Sick Podcast, I may be making a lot of people sick right now. I get that. I apologize. I'm a victim of circumstances at this moment. Glenn decided that we needed to do a podcast today, and I just happened to be here. So, we're doing this.
All right. Well, I'm glad we can talk about football anywhere, and I did look up, I know where Acapulco is and everything, and I did look it up, and here's what Wikipedia says. Acapulco was once a popular tourist resort for Hollywood stars and millionaires.
Yes.
But due to a massive upsurge in gang violence and homicide numbers since 2014, it no longer attracts many foreign tourists. I mean, I'm chuckling, but I mean, it's. I hope you're taking care of yourself.
I am doing absolutely fine. Went shopping today. Everything was good. Just went food shopping. Everything's fine. Most of the problems that we have here in Acapulco are up in the mountains, and it's between gangs and different drug gangs and stuff. So, the touristy part, they sort of leave alone. And then, you might have some pickpockets and that sort of thing. But for tourists, it's normally pretty safe. We have a lot of Canadians here, especially in my sister's building. Well, where she lives, it's not her building, but in the building where my sister lives here in the center of town. We have a ton of Canadian tourists that come down and literally drive down. One guy was telling me he lives in Montreal and made the trip in 5 days.
All right. Well, I like those kind of trips.
50
I like driving and stopping in communities. My wife and I have talked about getting that done at some point in our lives because we haven't done that in a while.
Drive cross country. Can I ask Shane to do something? Shane, somebody's got to put up on Blue Sky the fact that we're doing the podcast. I'm looking here and there's nothing up here. So I want to be able to reshare.
Well, look at mine. Look at mine. You can. I put it up, and
okay.
If you retweet mine, if you go up there, and I've got it so that hopefully people can just click and watch.
Awesome.
And hopefully we'll get some comments today because we're going to share our own opinions about some of these U.S. national team players. A lot of newbies involved, and I have two or three that are my favorites at this point. But first, New York City again. I put out there on social media not a whole lot to report, but they will scrimmage tomorrow against Real Salt Lake, and then Sunday against the LA Galaxy. So, two really good early scrimmages to get an idea of how everybody's doing, and. As far as we know, still no Jovan Mijatovic or Christian McFarlane. And as far as we can tell, all we can do is ask, number one, but then beyond that is go through all the photos and the videos. And I think if Pascal Janssen had arrived, and we could only assume that it's just a visa thing that we've seen happen before.
We see lots of photos.
Yeah, lots of photos, and we see Mehdi Belushi. That one thing I've seen, I went through all. There's like 160 of them. I went through them all today.
Oh wow!
And the staff the staff seems pretty intact from a year ago, including David Howarth, the physical performance coach. He is still there. He's the lead guy there. He's such an interesting guy. He used to be the Golden State Warriors physical performance coach. So he had some stories about Steph Curry and others. And
I got to speak to him about that.
Yeah, nothing incendiary about those guys. Just it's a different.
No, quite the
contrary.
NBA, I mean, they're brilliant athletes.
I'm just saying the NBA is a different world, and you know, it's pretty interesting. And he was a professional rugby player, which is also pretty interesting. But he's a big dude, man. There's not an ounce in me that would say I'd ever want to piss that guy off. he's big. He's a big dude.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
So you got those two scrimmages coming up. What we'll learn from either one of them, I don't know. Hopefully,
depends how much they share.
Yeah, just normally we get at least two played in the game, and then if goals are scored, we might see some highlights of that. But again, we're assuming that if Pascal Janssen is not there, that Mehdi Belushi is more than likely running the show, but with Leon like right underneath him and Rob Vertugien as well. So they're all there. So Leon is still there. Hapgood, who was brought in last year, and so he's they're all still around. So that's good. That's good.
And I want to remind everybody that if they have, we're doing this live, so if you have questions, thoughts, hit us up on either Twitter, on YouTube. I don't know if Blue Sky connects as far as being able to do any questions, but we see all the questions and all the comments. So come on in and join in, and we're happy to answer whatever you guys put out there as long as it's reasonable.
So last week we talked about. Again, looking for news, there were some homegrown additions. So we talked about them last week. The only thing that happened, I think, since in terms of any sort of transaction was acquiring $50,000 in GAM from Austin FC, who acquired the rights, the discovery rights, the MLS discovery rights continue. And I'm trying to find out. I looked everywhere, and again, this will be something to ask David Lee along the way, is how did New York City have the discovery rights for Basard Sabovic, who is from Sweden and has played in Turkey, Russia, Sweden? I'm just curious as to why Austin had to get them from New York City, these discovery rights. Yeah, $50K GAM, man. That's an easy win right there for a guy you're not going to bring in. Right?
It could definitely help our radio budget.
Well, we'll look at it that way too. So that's the transaction report for the week of January 20th or whatever it was. So,
but as we go through history, Glenn, it has taught us that nothing that really happens in preseason, except for maybe an injury or a huge signing, which New York City hasn't done, really matters as far as what goes on during the regular season. So, we don't get too crazy about the fact that we're going to not be able to see any of this Real Salt Lake game or the LA Galaxy game. Maybe they'll have a couple of highlights post game or something, or they'll show the lineup. If there's a goal, maybe they'll show that. But it's hard to get anything out of it. And honestly, it's not where I don't think that we're seeing something important like maybe a position battle. Right, is like Burke Risa fighting for the starting job with Justin Hack or Tanasiewicz, right? Strania Tanasiewicz. Is that like a real important battle to see who starts or anything like that? Or do we have a battle in midfield, or does Justin Hack, slide into midfield because he's a better six than both Keaton Parks or Andres Perea? Does he slide in there and take over for James Sand? I don't know if any of that stuff is really actually going on. And so, it's rare when we have like really important news that comes out. You just hope that there are no injuries, everybody's fine. And everybody makes it into the regular season, okay.
Yeah, it's just fun to see the games and see how people are progressing and see what some of the young players like a Johnny Shore or Maximo Carrizo, are they going to be given a real shot? or are they going to spend most of the time, down with MLS Next Pro, New York City FC2 team?
Now
And
they can play 6 games plus all
Yeah.
non-MLS games. So I
Yeah.
mean, we may see them at some point, either U.S. Open Cup or not Champions League. What do you call it? Leagues Cup. All these things. So you never know.
Yeah, I think they played in the Open Cup last year, Shore and Carrizo, and I know
Yeah,
and
for
Baera
sure.
and Drew Baera, the fullback. And I remember this time last year, or a little bit later into the preseason, you and I got into a pretty testy argument, which actually it was Matty Lawrence who calmed me down a little bit, because New York City had come off a 2023 season where they hadn't really won. They didn't go to the playoffs, so
I remember this.
winning was a difficult. So the question is, how important is it to get wins in preseason? And especially and the Coachella Invitational, which leads right into the season, the opener at Miami. Is it important to gain some traction and win? Keaton Parks agreed with me. He said we need to start winning. Nick Cushing at the time was, we're just trying. It's a process, which is what the head coach will say. And Matty Lawrence said he played some of the best teams he played on, lost all their preseason matches, and then had no problem. And then he said some of the teams that have been relegated that he's played on, were perfect in preseason. So I get that. But Greg Vanny also agreed with me, by the way, because I talked to him at Coachella last year, and they came off a non-playoff year and conceding 70 goals, and it was just awful. And he said, no, we need to probably get some wins here at Coachella to start feeling good. So
I think it was more important to get some of the players that they got than the wins at Coachella, but go for it.
No, and those guys started rolling in at Coachella. I don't know if Payne Seal, Peck did not play at all there. I don't think Payne.
No, Peck came in later. Yeah, Payne still may have played.
I don't think he played there either. Anyway, well, I will be out at Coachella. I'll see all 4 New York City games, and
cool.
I have been invited to do the commentary. So as long as the live stream.
So you're doing that again.
Yeah. So
they're hiding you under the stands.
So I expect you to be tuned into every game, Roberto, as I know you will, and then I'll get your critique on my commentary post game. And
you're gonna do great, as you always do. Speaking of commentary and all that, I talked about this last week, and it's working great. And at some point we'll launch it in English. But on the Spanish radio side, on TuneIn, there, you can't go to the New York City app and find it right now. I don't think it's there. But if you go straight to TuneIn, look for New York City FC in Spanish. I've got several games that are going back to back. So we have that channel running 24/7 now, and with games. And eventually I'll put some more games up there. I'll put the 2021 championship.
We're doing this together, right? I mean, I'm gonna put the 2021 the game in Portland that goes up. I think the Miami game this year goes up. I think you said you put that one up, right?
I put that one up. I also put up the Red Bull game that New York City won 5-1, and I put the Tigres game up. By the way, the Tigres game sounds freaking amazing because the crowd was so loud.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds amazing. It really does. I'm like, I hate listening to myself, honestly. I'm one of those people that once I do a broadcast, I don't listen back because I just don't I pick out every single mistake and every single thing. There's a lot of people that are like me like that. So I hate listening. But I was listening and I was like, well, this actually came out really well. And of course, Ariel is fantastic, in the commentary. So,
all right. Well,
it's a lot of fun.
Can you send me the directions how to do this? Can't you just spell it out for me?
It's sent. It was I just used what she told me, but I'll go through with you. I'll go through with it with you. It's actually quite easy.
I want help. All right. Anyway, we'll do it. We'll do it soon.
But listen in, folks.
Do it soon. And I think it's interesting that you don't listen back. I don't listen back to every game, but I like to listen back. And I agree with you. It's kind of hard to hear yourself, but this is how you self-critiquing is, a way to, continue to,
100%. But I mean, I do that while I'm broadcasting. I know when I screw up. I know when I could have called something better. I'm like, like if I know that I missed something or I did something wrong, I'm kicking myself while Ariel is trying to, try to clean up my mess, and I'm just like there, basically punching myself, not physically really, but mentally, and then I gotta leave it behind. I've got to be like a goalie who lets in a bad goal. You gotta forget about it. You gotta keep on moving on. You gotta be there for the next call. So that's what we do.
Well, goalkeeper for New York City FC, their number one, Matt Freese, did not get to play in either of the two matches that Mauricio Pochettino was in charge with Venezuela and Costa Rica, 2 wins. Before we get to that, I just thought I'd look at some former New York City players. James Sands has now played in 3 Bundesliga matches for St. Pauli, got his first start, went 71 minutes. It was a big win on the road for them to kind of
separate themselves.
Yeah, they're out of the relegation. They're out of the relegation zone now, so that's good. And of course, James got his first Bundesliga yellow card, the first of many, I'm sure. And
it's part of the job description.
Yep. So that's James. But today, Tati Castellanos in Europa League. So Lazio leads Europa League. They are number 1, and Tati assisted on the opening goal and then scored a wonderful Tati kind of goal in the air, near post, thundered it home, and I think the final was 3-0 in their match today. So so good for Tati.
Happy for him. He deserves all the success that he's getting. My team, who I root for, was Spurs, and I know you want to talk about that and a little bit later on. So we'll talk about it. They had a very interesting week, but we'll get into that in Kicking Around.
Yeah, let's do that. And then Matty Lawrence sent us this thing about Immobile, who Tati was kind of competing against for a while, longtime Lazio striker. Yeah. And he was Matty was even shocked at what he saw and then sent us. I mean, Immobile was quite a goal scorer.
Yes, he was.
This is consecutively starting in 2016. This is all competitions. 26 goals, 41, 19, 39, 25, 32, and then 14, 11. And he's got 14 in Turkey for Besiktas in 25 games this year. But Tati is now marshaling the front line and doing a job. He's the full-time guy now.
It's amazing. I mean, this is what you want to see, right? This is what you want to see. All these young players that are coming through New York City, either being homegrowns or brought in from from different countries. You want to see them start out with New York City, do really well. New York City, sell them for a profit, and then watch them shine in the best leagues in the world. That's great. And this is, it's a business model to do that as well.
Yeah. Anton Tinnerholm, not part of the young breed. He's 33, and he is Malmo lost to FC Twente from the Netherlands 2-3. This was in Sweden today. But Tinnerholm is still out injured. And remember how, he's a bit frustrated. We had Anton on a couple of months ago here on the big show, NYCFC Views Live. And it's a groin injury. He tried to come back. He re-injured it. And it's just been a long time out for old Anton. And then another former New York City fullback, Stephen Turnbull, on the move. So he played at Rhode Island in their inaugural season, USL Championship. They went to the playoffs. It was really a great story. But he has been traded to Birmingham. So now he gets to go to Alabama and get a little Southern accent for the Long Island.
That Birmingham.
Huh?
That Birmingham.
Yeah, not Birmingham, England. No, Birmingham FC in the USL Championship. So I think that covers it. Let's get to the national team, man. And I think there's well, first it was let's show Matt Freese with the other goalkeepers. So Matt had this great experience. I'm sure it was fantastic. I'm sure he would have liked to have played. Now he looks look at this picture. He kind of looks like the outcast here. He's off on his own. The other three are kind of kibitzing, and maybe he's just focused. I don't know, but
it's hard to tell anything from a picture from a still. I mean, you can make up all sorts of theories. So let's not. I just hope that he impressed Pochettino enough to be able to call him back at some other point. So, but it's great that he got to be seen, and they saw his work habits, his practice habits, I'm sure that they saw his shot stopping ability and everything. And but look, Stefan has been with the team for has been back and forth, and so it's understandable that he got a start, and Schulte has been getting starts lately, depending where. So it's understandable he got a shot. I thought that maybe he might get a half at some point, but it didn't happen. I wish he could have, but I'm sure that he did enough there to warrant something to be called back again. We hope.
Well, you mentioned Stefan, and he really helped his cause. I didn't realize this, and ironically, it was against Costa Rica, and ironically, it was a 2-0 loss, and he did not have a good match. That was his first game last night against Costa Rica, got a 3-0 clean sheet since March the 31st, 2022.
Yeah.
That's wild. I hadn't realized that. So Stefan was one of the guys that came through the line last night and in the scrum, and and here he is, Zach Stefan, after talking about his saves initially here.
Yeah, it's my job first and foremost, but no, it was good good personally to make those saves and know that I still got it a little bit, and it gives me confidence to keep going. Of course, it's been a while since I've started with the national team, so there's some nerves, but at the same time, you just got to play, and it was a great night.
And his saves, they were really spectacular, top hand saves. And when he says keep his team in the game, the first one came at I believe it was 0-0, where there was a looping shot that he had to save. So good on Stefan, who we've been hard on at times, or at least I have. I'm not sure if you have.
No, he's been up and down, right? He was very inconsistent in Europe, and hence why he's back in the United States playing for Colorado. Because had he been great in Europe, and look, he was traded to some pretty good teams, and he couldn't make it. I mean, he was with Manchester City, Middlesbrough, Fortuna Dusseldorf rather. I mean, these are pretty damn good teams, and especially Manchester City. And he got a chance, but didn't take it. So now, he's got to work himself back into the national team program. And then maybe he'll get another shot at Europe. We know goalies can be into their late 30s and sometimes even beyond and still be at a very, very high level. So it's not like his career is over or anything like that. How old is he now? Let me see. He's 29. So
yeah, he's fine. He's fine. Now, a guy that going into the match, I was really happy he was going to get a shot. There were a couple that are in this category. Emeka Eneli, and I don't know. Did you watch the game, Roberto? I wasn't sure if you could.
I watched part of it. I couldn't really concentrate on it as much because we were out to dinner, and then when I tried to watch it when I got home, I was so exhausted from my travel yesterday, which wasn't easy and pretty stressful in many ways because of the way that I travel. But that I literally just fell asleep. I had the iPad on my chest and I was
all right.
And then all of a sudden I realized the game was over and I was like, oh God. And I said, all right, let me see what I can figure out.
All right. What are you? Hold on. Well, hold on a second. What are you, a politician? That was a simple yes/no question. Did you watch the game? It's okay. So here's what I want to.
Sort of.
Well, you're going to go back and watch it if you can get on. What was it on last night?
I have it recorded on Fubo.
Okay, good. So I want you to watch this player in the midfield. His name is Emeka Eneli. He plays for Real Salt Lake, so I doubt he'll play tomorrow in the scrimmage against New York City, but he'll probably get there on time. So he is a really interesting player in the midfield, I think. I love the way he moves. He's calm. He's a young guy, and he assisted on the Caden Clark goal, which made it 2-0. And here he is talking about that.
I feel like something that I kind of pride myself on is, reactions when our team loses the ball, making sure that we can repress really quickly. So obviously we lost it pretty high up the field, and I was the closest one to the ball. So I, try and repress. was able to win it back and drive down the 18. And I took a glance up and I saw that a lot of the Costa Rican defense had, kind of crashed towards the 6-yard box, and Caden and Matko were both wide open at the top of the 18. So I just squared it back there, and then Caden, unbelievable finish, So. How much is that?
So I love the fact he took a glance and then he played a really good cutback ball, Roberto, when you see it. But he makes a lot of sense when he talks, and he is one of the 2 Ivy Leaguers on the U.S. men's national team roster for this camp. The other one is Matt Freese, Harvard, and Anelli went to Cornell and graduated from Cornell. And I remember Pablo Mastroeni, his coach at Real Salt Lake, at some point during the year last year, said he really enjoys coaching him. And you could tell he's got an Ivy League education, because he says, I only have to tell him something once and he gets it. And he just does it. Really, really wonderful game. FOTMob, if you go on to FOTMob, they rated him as the best player in the match, both teams.
I saw that, 8.9.
So
8.9, he did very well.
So that's
8.5 rather.
That's Anelli.
My eyesight is shot these days.
Now let's get to your guy, because he has become a cult hero after last night's game. Diego Luna, who assisted on Brian White. And those are the 3 guys I really wanted to see. Anelli, Luna, and Brian White, the Jersey boy that played at PDA, who has torn it up at MLS with Vancouver.
Let go by the Red Bulls. Who knows why?
Well, they're regretting that one. And the idea of this first goal is, you got to go back and watch it. This was a sophisticated goal for this reason. And you wonder how much Pochettino's influence is kind of creating how this goal happened. But if you watch Luna, your guy, and I keep saying that because you've just been begging for him to play, and he came out at halftime. I don't think if you were at dinner, you weren't aware why. He broke his nose. Man.
Yeah.
So that's why they took him out at halftime, and that's part of the cult hero phenomenon here with him, because he stuck it out, and he assisted on this goal just moments after he came back into the game. After the guy elbowed him, his nose was crooked. There was blood everywhere.
He had to. They stuffed his nose on both sides.
Yeah, you can't even breathe.
And then he comes, and then he begs to stay in the game.
Yeah,
he begs, and Pochettino is like, talk to the doctor. The doctor says, he wants to play, he can play. So
get him in there.
At least let me finish the half. Let me get to halftime. Pochettino puts him right back in, and he delivers that pass. Oh my God, the pass is great. The finish is great too.
But you're right. Before that, though, to get free to receive the pass, he did like a little 2-yard burst forward, knowing that he was going to check back the other way, and found himself right in a gap between defenders because of that movement, because the one defender went with him. He comes back, there's the gap, gets it in turns, and then a wonderful ball between defenders into his seam. I mean, that's where he really shines. His ability to deliver, but how he received it in that area to make it happen. In the meantime, while he's dribbling towards the back line, Brian White is drifting away towards the opposite side. He's drifting away from the play, brought the defender with him, and then bursts diagonally across, receives, and what a finish, right? Left foot just slots into the back post. I mean, that is a spectacular goal. It may not look spectacular, but
it absolutely is. And what I love about Luna, okay, and I've loved this about him for as long as I've watched him, and I've been watching him since he's with the U20s, okay. He has this creativity, this mind, and this aggressiveness to go after people and to challenge and to, not settle for just the easiest thing to do sometimes. And, he wants to take people on. And that sort of mentality is just great. He has a lot of confidence in his abilities. So he has so much confidence in his ability. I want that type of player on the national team. I don't want robotic guys. I mean, you need some of them, and that's fine. But you want guys who are thinking out of the box and are doing things that are going to unlock defenses. And I think he's a really special, creative player. And what's important about this as well is that the U.S. isn't the only national team that he can play for. He can play for Mexico. I don't want to see him, or U.S. national team, fans don't want to see him wearing the green and playing against them. Okay, somebody who's grown up here, who's grown up through the system, and then because of what happened in the Olympics, that left a very sour taste in his mouth, and understandably, decides to go there. But now Pochettino has him, and Pochettino's got to do the job. And however Pochettino feels fit to see that he wants to stay, and Pochettino's commented on this, right? He and I may differ, and I understand where he's coming from. So I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying I understand his point of view. We want people who want to be here. And if you want to go to Mexico or wherever else, go there. But we want people who want to be here. And I get that. But I also feel that, a lot of this, it's like college recruiting too now. That's what international soccer has become. And so I also want the player to know that he's wanted here and that he's appreciated and valued.
I think more of what Pochettino's referring to with all that is, here's his quote: "The way Argentine players compete." Now he's talking about Argentina, and he wants the same mentality for the U.S. When you lose a ball, you cry. When you lose a game, you spend maybe 1 week in your room when you want to go out. It's how you defend your patch, your flag. It's how you defend your identity, your culture. It's what we want to translate. And this is what he's trying to get through. And I think, whoever Diego Luna is, I mean, part of him wanting to get back into that game could well be, the Pochettino way.
Yeah.
And now I would encourage everyone to read the article written by Jeff Carlisle, ESPN FC, or wherever you find it. It's on ESPN. You can go find it. And it's a really, really good profile on Luna, his family, his upbringing. The guy is really, he's had it difficult at times. But my favorite part of the story, Roberto, and I like him a lot more now after reading the story, because it really says something about him. He understood, and this is part of his upbringing and part of his social skills, he identified as very poor. He wasn't good around people. So what he did when he got to RSL is he got a job as a barista at the local coffee shop so that he could meet people and, as he put it, have proper eye contact with everybody. So he's a kid that he understood. He was always looking down. He wasn't looking people in the eye. I mean, that is a really aware thing for like a 18 or 19-year-old sitter in developing themselves. I mean, I thought that was just borderline fascinating for a teenager to figure that out. I mean,
absolutely. That's a lot of self-awareness. And I think that obviously serves them very, very well. And it helps them on the field as well. Well,
now here, let's play this. This is Pochettino with the TNT crew afterwards, including Brian Dunseth. And of course, they're talking. Everybody wants to talk about Luna, going back into the game in the first half, and then 60 seconds later, assisting on the goal. So here's Pochettino talking to that crew post game.
I was very surprised because it was broke the nose. No?
Yeah, nose. Yeah.
Nose. I was like, but I didn't want to say nothing, too much drama, because it was bleeding.
You don't want to scare him.
No, I wanted to scare. But he said, "How you feel?" I said, "No, I can't. Please, coach, let me to keep playing because at least after in the halftime I go out, Doctor, give me the okay."
Big personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, the doctor said, yeah, okay, you go in. And the first action, assist, and we score. I say, big balls. Sorry. No, but it's true. Because
Everyone knows what that means.
I love it. Another say, okay, I broke. I need to go. But in the way that he played, because after suffered another, another action that, but he showed great character. Great character.
So Pochettino now is, everybody loves him for just saying he's got big balls,
Absolutely. And by the way, I mean, that is a moment, right? And that character, as he says, that will win him a lot with Pochettino's view. There's no doubt that Pochettino saw that. And increase the level of appreciation of the guy. I think it's a great moment, and then he does what he does, and even if he hadn't done that, okay, just the fact that he didn't want to quit, didn't want to stop,
Right.
just great. I'm very happy for Diego, and let's see what happens. But I want to see him now. Let's see if he earned himself a place on the roster for the first team. But he's got to play well from here until when they ever announce that roster.
There's no guarantee, but I'd be but we know that, but based on what Pochettino said post game, look, things happen. Like you said, if he comes out and he's inconsistent with RSL, but I think Pochettino will find a way to bring that young man back. That's what I think.
I think so. You had a couple of guys that you mentioned. The guy that I wanted to mention is a guy who keeps on showing up on these type of opportunities, and that's Jack McGlynn. I mean, he played very well in the Venezuela game, scored an amazing goal.
He's not physically strong enough to compete yet. He's not physically strong enough. He's one of the best.
He's got so much talent.
Oh,
he
yeah.
really does. He really does. And that's somebody who I'm looking out for. But it may not be the immediate future, but that's somebody who, you got to keep in mind. And, let's see what happens with Philadelphia now, and to see how he does there. New coaching staff, maybe new tactics. We'll see what goes on and how they use him. But I was very impressed with Jack McGlynn, especially the first game.
Yeah, his range of passing is fantastic. And that goal, and he could have had a second goal. He didn't miss by much in that opening game. Also in that opening game, Roberto, I don't know if we've ever talked about this guy before, because to me the best story, the best soccer story of 2024 is Matko Milovic. Now, I've heard his name pronounced like 4 different ways, so I'm just going to go with Milovic. He's Croatian and American, so he's playing for the U.S.
and Argentinian.
And Argentinian, and one other, Bosnia and Herzegovina. He's also I think under consideration there, or he is eligible. So this is the guy that was with Montreal, and he was not playing very much, and he was dissatisfied with that. So he went off. He had a friend that like was on a local Sunday morning team, just a total non-league situation, but it was a league. It was like a local league. And contrary to what his contract terms said, he went and played for this team.
And to hide it, he changed his name.
Yeah, but he changed his name. Now his name is Matko Milovic, right? Miljevic. He changed his name to Matko Milojevic. It's like almost the same. It's almost the same.
He couldn't go with like Jack Brown or something like that.
How do you change your name to almost the exact same name? What?
Mark Miles, Mike Miles, whatever.
So Montreal got rid of him because he played under this fake name. Well, MLS said you're done, terminated.
Yeah.
And in the last game he played for that Quebec non-league team, he was accused of punching an opponent in the face, and he was banned for life from that league. I mean, this guy. Now he scored a very nice goal in the opening game. He
had a horrific first half, and he had a decent second half.
And then he came on as a reserve in the second game, and not really much happened. And he came in for Luna and 2 different players, because this guy's more of a turn it, just run as hard as you can and see what happens. Luna's a little bit better a distributor. And, I wonder what Pochettino may have thought.
And he just signed a new contract for Huracan in Argentina. So he's going to be playing there.
All right. Well, that's good for him. I mean, good for his chances, depending on how he plays.
I wonder how he got called up, though. That's the whole thing. I mean, how did he get called up? Because he was unattached when the national team called him up. He signed a contract, I guess, or agreed to a contract while he was in camp.
Somebody saw him on that Quebec team on a Sunday morning. He did score a couple of goals. I think he had 4 goals in 3 games or something like that. Anyway.
We won't see him in MLS unless the suspension is lifted by the league. He was kicked out by the league, not by Montreal.
And remember last week, Roberto, I told you about John Tolkien. He's a flat earther, we think, because he liked a flat Earth tweet at one point in not too long ago, just a couple of years ago. Well, just to kind of reinforce, the concern, and he also has like homophobic, transphobic. He's got some stuff. He's got some baggage. Okay, so Derek Ray, who does a lot of German games, former ESPN broadcaster or current. So Tolkien officially signed with the German team Holstein Kiel, if that's the way it's pronounced, or Holstein Kiel. But they had to go into damage control. This is Derek Ray now writing in his tweet. After their new American signing on his social media liked several dubious conspiracy theories and statements related to COVID, the shape of the earth, and gender identity. And so Kiel, the club, makes this long statement that, look, we've met with a guy, we trust in him. They had to go through this whole thing because of these social media posts. So the lesson here, folks, is be careful on social media. Say what?
Yeah, not a great way to start with a new team in a new country. God. Not the best. Let's hope that everything goes well for him from now on. Meanwhile, that team is in dead last. The last time I checked, anyway, up in Germany, and they have a chance to get out, but it's like they're going to have a very good second season, the second half of the season, rather.
Roberto, what is it? How does anyone, considering we have the science, we have these shots from space, how does anyone think that our Earth is flat? Or any of those planets out there?
Because they don't believe what they see. A lot of people have basically been taught that everybody's lying to you, that all these people who are scientists and teachers and all that, it's all part of a conspiracy to control you, and therefore they're not telling you the truth, and they believe in these conspiracy theories, and there's not much you can do until they finally come out and understand that things aren't really that way. Kyrie Irving, who plays for Dallas in the NBA, played for the Nets, played for Cleveland, and all that. He was somebody who absolutely was all in on the flat Earth. So I don't know if he still is, but
I just can't. In the 1400s, when people were discovering different things and they weren't sure, and they're in their boats and they're afraid of their boat going off the end of the earth, I could understand that. We haven't had there's no tools to decipher that the world is round. But I'll leave it there. But I'm like, it really boggles my mind. All right, let's kick it around. All righty. So I had a real interesting interview this week, Roberto, and you can bring up Spurs on this one too. If I asked you the question, what was the most lopsided matchup in soccer over the last 2 weeks in terms of like David versus Goliath, that sort of matchup, what would you say?
The Spurs game from a week ago in the FA Cup.
All right, it was January 12th, and they were playing at Tamworth FC. And show the that black and white photo of the stadium here, Shane. Look at there's the scoreboard, not digital.
Yeah, they don't even have color at Tamworth. It's I'm telling you, it's very small, Glenn.
Exactly. So they're getting ready for the big game against Spurs, and it's huge, obviously, for this non-league club. So Roberto, these players for this team, they train twice a week, and they're in the National League. It's called the National League, 5th tier of English football. And one thing I was told, and my guest was Tom McGlinchey. And another thing I want to encourage people to go back and watch the highlights of this, because Tom McGlinchey nearly scored in second half stoppage time with the score 0-0. He made a great move. As he put it, it was great to put a $25 million defender on their rear ends because he just slipped and fell and hit a firm shot. I mean, it was a good, clean shot. It was at a pretty severe angle, and the keeper did well just to block it, and it went out for a corner, of which he had to make another save, and then the final whistle blew, and then in extra time, they just lost their legs. and
Yeah.
lost 3-0.
Well,
But
I've got news for you. I've got good news for you. Your boy McGlinchey scored 2 goals in the following game,
I know.
and they beat Boston United by a score of 3-0. So,
Yep.
very good. Although I have to say they're not doing very well on the table, as they like to call it there. First place is Forest Green with 55 points. They're in 15th place, and they only have 33 points. The good news is that relegation would be 25 points, a team called Wheelstone. So they won
Yeah.
there, and then they
well,
won
you
the
know,
next
well,
game,
hold on,
too,
hold on,
against-
hold on. Just pause for a moment.
Okay, fine.
No, there's some tidbits here. Number one is almost every other team in the National League trains full time. You know, the 5 days a week, game on the weekend, maybe one day off. So that's one of the things that he's very proud of. But you just mentioned Wheelstone. Guess who's a part owner of that team and was in England the same time I was? We didn't quite get together. Eric Winalda is a part owner of Wheelstone, and he was lamenting when I was on the air with him yesterday because they lost their match on the Saturday and they dropped into the relegation. So,
No.
yeah, so they had a big directors and owners meeting the next day. And
Crisis.
Yeah.
What's relegation after that?
well, there's a lot of divisions. I don't know what's going on after that, but it
But
was
they won their next game, yes.
No, but it's a cool story. If you're a Sirius XM subscriber out there, go back and listen to it on the app. It's just
I love Eric. I love Eric. He's so much fun to talk to, so much fun to listen to. He's got some wonderful ways of thinking of things, and he's a great listen. He's absolutely entertaining, which is what you want, and it's worth a subscription to Sirius XM. And of course, Glenn's show too, the Coaching Academy. Please don't forget that.
That's what I was.
Wednesday. Thank
That
you.
is what I was referring to for the Tom McGlinchey interview. And
Well, the other thing is,
and you know why I brought him on? The reason I brought him on, Roberto, is because he's a sports psychologist. Well, he's an instructor, so he's a lecturer in sports psychology at the local university. And the reason I got him on, I mean, it just LinkedIn is a fantastic thing, but
Yes, it is.
But I don't know where I saw the article, but I saw he wrote an article the next day, and he was talking about some of the psychological aspects that really gave them an advantage. Certainly, playing on this artificial surface, third generation. I mean, but go ahead. What were you saying?
So I was going to say they played another game after that, and they beat the Leeds United Academy by a score of 2-1. So they're doing well after they had lost 3 in a row, including the Spurs game. So, but it's very cool. And now everybody knows about them.
So we've got Europa League, we got Champions League. How about Champions League next week? Here's the match you want to tune into next Wednesday, Roberto. Manchester City, Club Brugge, Ronnie Dyler's former club, Pep Guardiola. The reason you want to tune into that, if Man City ties or loses that match, they are out of Champions League.
Right now they're out. They've got to win. Yeah, now they're out.
Well, they're not out yet because it's not.
I mean, if the season ended, if the Champions League season ended now, they're out because they're one place below all the teams that qualify. What is it, 17th? So they're there. And by the way, they were leading 2-0, and they blew the game and lost. So
crazy! They lost 4-2, and it's 20 top 24 teams get into at least the next phase of this. Top 8 jump right to the quarterfinals, I think, and then I don't want to misspeak, but the from 9 to 24 they have to play each other to get to move into the I think the quarterfinal round themselves. Below that, and you're right, Man City's in 25th as of. Was
it 25th? All right, whatever it was. Yeah, I know they were one below the whatever the cutoff was. I didn't remember. It's pretty crazy that they're not there. And by the way, when you watch Man City and you see all these, especially when they give up leads like they've given up, and this is not the first time they've done it. Rodri's sitting at home going, I think I just got another raise.
Yeah. I think
he changed the team. He left, and the team changed. It's amazing. You would think that maybe if Holland left the team, right, or he was injured, and then they couldn't replace him or something like that. But Rodri was the glue that held that team together, and it becomes more and more obvious every game that he doesn't play. Because De Bruyne is back, Haaland is back, everybody else around. No Rodri, and they're a sieve.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's somebody put on social media. They were like field level. They put so they filmed it on their phone. De Bruyne and Pep Guardiola going at it, like shouting at each other, literally. And the way it was written is Pep was saying, "Pass it, pass it, pass it," and De Bruyne turned to him and said, "Shut up, shut up." Now I don't know. I didn't hear. You couldn't hear the exchange. That's what this ex-post said. So I'm not sure if that's accurate. And in Europa League today, so we talked about Pascal Janssen, the new New York City FC coach. His former team, Alkmaar, beat Roma today, 1-0. And then that was 2 teams ago. His most recent club, that one in Hungary, Ferencváros, they dropped a 2-0 decision to Frankfurt. I tuned into that game for a little bit just to see how they were playing, and they were playing 5 at the back, and I think they were on the road. They were against a better team, so I think there were no signs of Pascal Janssen's theories in that one, but they might have been just trying to, hold shop.
By the way, did you watch Man U against Rangers?
I was,
did
but
did you see the first goal?
I didn't see the goal. My
God.
Paramount Plus kept crapping out on me, so I did not see it.
Well, that's a shame. I only saw it on highlights because Eddie is like texted me excitedly. He goes, "You got to go watch the goal." So I went and I watched it. So it's a corner kick, and the goalkeeper Butland comes out to punch it, and he punches it backwards right into the goal.
Brilliant!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I was following it on FotMob, and I saw Butland scored the goal. And normally they put OG but I'm thinking, who's Butland? And I'm like, so I was, and then I got to feel all right. Well, the highlights are right in front of me. I'm gonna watch those highlights. So when we mentioned Pep Guardiola, Dome Torrent, we think about Spain, and I saw this story, and I have a couple of friends that live in Spain, and I immediately told them, "Have you ever heard of this?" So there's a tradition, Roberto, in a small town in Spain as we close out kicking it around. So there's no soccer here at all. It's riding horses through a bonfire as part of a ritual of Saint Anthony the Abbot, the patron saint of domestic animals. Check out this photo. And this is in San Bartolomé de Pinares, Spain. And this is just from a week ago. The population in this town is 627, so it's this long-standing tradition. And
how about after the exhibition? Is it still 627?
Yeah, no, everybody survived, and the smoke helps to protect the horses from disease. This is what they believe, and it's only 60 miles from Madrid, where this little town is. So these friends I contacted said they're going next year because I'd like to. And I mean,
anything that comes close to hurting animals, and I'm like, I go crazy. So, well, I don't know.
I read up on that before I shared that the animals don't get damaged. In fact, it enhances their lifespan because
that's the theory. But there's a lot of theories like that throughout history that have not exactly panned out. Okay. There have been sacrifices to gods. That doesn't pipe out. We have a question, by the way. We have a few questions and all that.
But the other thing I was going to say is they go through the horses go through twice. Each of them go through twice. The second time they go through, they have a cat wrapped around their leg. Sorry. I'm sorry.
You did not have to tell me that. I don't want to.
No, it's not true. It's not true. I'm making it up just to startle you. Oh my God! All right. Will Thiago still be an option from which Thiago? Thiago Andrade, or still be the captain? I'm sorry. It says still be the captain. I thought it said option.
Thiago Martins.
Thiago Martins. Yeah, I would say yes. I don't know. Now Pascal Janssen. Some coaches come in and they choose their own guy after observing. Maybe he wants to come in and observe a little bit.
Or maybe he leaves it up to the players.
And sometimes
maybe they rotate it.
Up to the players. And I know Nick never really named a captain, but Thiago Martins was the captain, you know, and if Martins couldn't play, Sands would wear it. I don't think Maxi Morales.
He's a leader, older player, and he can speak several languages, which means he can communicate with everybody on the team.
Yeah. No, that works. Maxi Morales, has he ever worn a captain armband?
I believe he has. I'm not sure. And also, Maxi's English is so much better now, so he could definitely communicate with pretty much everybody on the field. So that would be good. We have a couple of questions from KP. So let's do the first one, Shane.
Well, it's not a question.
It's
I don't think.
I believe. I can barely see it. So come on, there we go. Yeah, so KP wanted Freeze to get some playing time. Yeah, we all did, but it didn't work out. So that's a shame. And yeah, Stefan had some pretty good saves. Yes, he did. He played really well, and that bodes well for Colorado because you had some up and downs in Colorado last year. But look, I think he's a really good goalkeeper. I think he proved it when he was with Columbus. And
I liked what Pochettino said after the game regarding Stefan. Somebody asked him, and he intimated that he did what the goalkeeper is supposed to do, kind of an old school answer, in as much as you got to have keepers that make saves, kind of intimating that I'm not that overly concerned by his feet. I just want to make sure they can make the saves in the big moments.
I agree.
And when you watch the U.S. play, under Pochettino, the thinking is always forward. Not that they don't go backwards to reset. That's not. Don't misconstrue that. But they're much more. They're looking to get in behind earlier and more often and with greater numbers. And their movement, I think, is creating a lot of that. So it'll be fun to see how that progresses. Alex Jimenez is asking where we can watch NYC Real Salt Lake. As of now, I'm not going to say that game won't be on, but I'm going to say that game will not be on. I would doubt it very highly. These are some of these early ones. Well, most of the scrimmages nowadays, Coachella is the exception, are closed scrimmages. We can't even go cover them. So the only thing you're going to see from that game or the Galaxy game on Sunday, unless both teams agree for it to be aired, you'll just see some field level highlights from whoever the digital people that are there.
So check the social media of both teams, not just NYCFC.
Right, both teams. That's good tip, Roberto. Tip of the day from Roberto Abramowitz. And I think that's pretty much all I got, man. Got my horse story in, and we're all set. So
the cat part killed me, by the way. I was like, oh my God.
It was a joke. It was a joke. I had you perfectly set up.
No, but the thing is that I believe they'll do this crap.
No.
Well, a lot of people don't really respect animals as much as I do. So, yeah. And I love my kitties, who I miss, by the way. They're back in New York.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your time away, Roberto, and
thank you.
We'll see you soon enough. For Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks. Thanks for joining us here on another episode of NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.